A call. A message. A like, a call, a new comment, a call. It's your turn to play. Every day our phones turn into tireless heralds of the digital world, demanding immediate attention. The average smartphone user checks their phone between 100 and 150 times a day. This means we interrupt whatever we're doing every 6 to 7 minutes of our waking hours. Studies show that even the mere presence of a phone within sight reduces cognitive abilities, even if the device is turned off. We live in an era where our attention has become the most valuable and simultaneously the most fragile resource. Small digital signals have turned into invisible leashes, tugging at us throughout the day. Our brains, which evolved to survive in the wild, now react to every notification as if it were a signal of an approaching predator. But instead of adrenaline preparing us for fight or flight, we get a short burst of dopamine, a neurotransmitter of pleasure and reward. And gradually, an addiction forms, no less real than to nicotine or sugar. What happens in our brain when the phone emits its characteristic notification sound? Neuroscientists provide a clear answer. A complex cascade of chemical reactions is triggered, centered around dopamine, a neurotransmitter responsible for pleasure and motivation. This mechanism, refined over millions of years to ensure survival, is now exploited by digital technologies with terrifying efficiency. When a notification arrives, the brain perceives it as a potential reward. The so-called reward system is activated. The ventral tegmental area releases dopamine, which rushes to the nucleus accumbens and the prefrontal cortex. We experience a brief moment of anticipation. What is it? A message from a friend? A like on a photo? An important email? It is this anticipation, not the content of the notification itself, that causes the strongest dopamine surge. The mechanism of variable rewards is particularly insidious. We never know whether the next notification will be significant or disappointing. This unpredictability is the same principle that makes gambling so addictive. Studies on rats show that if an animal receives a reward not every time, but randomly, it presses the lever significantly more often and persistently. Check reward cycles form neural pathways that become more entrenched with each repetition. Gradually, the brain begins to demand more and more stimulation, developing tolerance, just like with any other addiction. One notification becomes insufficient. We check the phone even when it's silent, hoping for a dopamine rush. Behind every push notification stand invisible architects, meticulously designing digital traps for our attention. These developers don't just create functionality, they construct experiences that maximize the time we spend in apps. Their tools are remarkably effective and based on a deep understanding of human psychology. The key mechanism is variable rewards. Think of your Instagram or TikTok feed. Most content might be mediocre, but suddenly something truly interesting appears. This unpredictability makes us scroll further and further in search of the next dopamine hit. In casinos, this principle is called intermittent reinforcement, and it's recognized as the most powerful mechanism for habit formation. Social approval is another powerful lever. Notifications about likes and comments activate ancient parts of the brain responsible for social connection. Evolutionarily, we are programmed to care about our status within a group, and every sign of approval is perceived as confirmation of our worth. It's no accident that Facebook developers chose blue for notifications. It attracts attention but doesn't cause alarm. FOMO, the fear of missing out, is the third pillar of digital addiction. Snapchat with disappearing stories, Twitter with its constantly updating feed, online statuses in messengers. All this creates the feeling that important events are happening right now, without us. Temporary promotions, limited offers, stories that vanish after 24 hours. All of this exploits our fear of missing something. Infinite scrolling is another invention that eliminates natural exit points from an application. Previously, web pages had a clear end. Now, content loads endlessly, giving the brain no signal to conclude the activity. Constant interruptions destroy our productivity with astonishing efficiency. University of California research shows that after each distraction by a notification, it takes us an average of 23 minutes to fully return to the task. 23 minutes! Yet most of us receive notifications every few minutes. Simple math shows we almost never achieve a state of deep concentration. When we interrupt complex intellectual work to check a message, a cognitive shift occurs. The brain has to unload some data from working memory and load others. This process not only takes time, but also consumes mental energy. Professor Gloria Mark from Stanford found that workers who are regularly distracted by digital communications show 30% lower productivity and make twice as many errors. One of the most harmful myths of modern work culture is the belief in multitasking. We pride ourselves on the ability to juggle multiple tasks simultaneously, answer emails during meetings, and glance at notifications while writing a report. But neuroscientists are categorical. The human brain is not capable of true multitasking. What we call multitasking is actually a rapid switching of attention between tasks. Each such switch is accompanied by cognitive costs. Studies using fMRI show that when attempting to perform multiple tasks simultaneously, more primitive brain regions associated with habits are activated, rather than the prefrontal cortex responsible for complex thinking. A striking fact: constant distraction by notifications temporarily lowers IQ by 10 to 15 points, an effect comparable to sleep deprivation or mild intoxication. In doing so, we lose not only time and productivity, but also the ability for deep, original thinking. Precisely what distinguishes humans from artificial intelligence. Imagine a familiar scene. A family gathered for dinner, but instead of lively conversation, everyone is engrossed in their phones. Parents check work emails, children scroll through social media. Physically, they are together, but psychologically, they are in different worlds. This phenomenon has been dubbed phubbing, from the English words phone and snubbing. We have become so accustomed to this behavior that we have stopped noticing its destructive impact on our relationships. Research from Baylor University reveals shocking results. Over 70% of respondents admit to regularly ignoring loved ones to check notifications. At the same time, 90% of those same people experience negative emotions when they themselves become victims of phubbing. Paradoxically, we do to others what we hate when it's done to us. When we interrupt a conversation to check our phone, we send a non-verbal signal. What's happening on my device is more important than you. Even if it happens unconsciously, emotionally, the message is unmistakably received. Studies show that regular phubbing reduces relationship satisfaction by 37% and increases the likelihood of depression in a partner. Even more alarming is the situation with children. When parents are constantly distracted by phones, children interpret this as rejection. Psychologists note an increase in anxiety and a decrease in self-esteem among children whose parents exhibit technological absence, physical presence with emotional unavailability due to immersion in digital devices. The era of notifications changes not only the quality, but also the depth of our social connections. We exchange thousands of messages, but have fewer and fewer meaningful conversations. Superficial communication displaces deep connection. Constant interaction with notifications comes at a high emotional cost, one we often fail to recognize. Our brain, evolutionarily wired to react to potential threats, perceives every missed notification as a signal of possible danger. As a result, a vicious cycle of anxiety forms. We fear missing important information and constantly check our devices. Psychologists at the University of California found that people who regularly check notifications show a 30% higher level of cortisol, the stress hormone. This state of chronic tension eventually depletes the nervous system and becomes the backdrop of daily life. The FOMO syndrome, fear of missing out, manifests especially vividly. This is not just a trendy term, but a clinically significant condition. Studies show that 87% of young people experience anxiety when they do not have access to social media. They constantly compare their lives with filtered versions of others' lives, leading to decreased self-esteem and an increased sense of inadequacy. An international study spanning 14 countries revealed a direct link between intensive smartphone use and symptoms of depression. The statistics among adolescents are particularly alarming. A 63% increase in depressive disorders over the past decade correlates with the spread of smartphones. Paradoxically, devices designed to connect us often become a source of profound loneliness. Constant availability for notifications creates an illusion of connection, but deprives us of deep, meaningful relationships essential for emotional well-being. We are always connected, but rarely truly present. Imagine this. Your brain is a computer with limited RAM. Each new notification is a program requiring resources to run. When there are too many such programs, the system begins to malfunction. This is precisely what happens to us in the era of information overload. We plunge into a state that experts call digital fatigue. Our brain is not evolutionarily adapted to process such volumes of information. Daily, we encounter an amount of data equivalent to 3,000 newspapers, 5 times more than the average person received in the 70s of the last century. At the same time, the volume of attention has not increased. It remains an equally limited resource. Symptoms of digital fatigue manifest subtly, but relentlessly. First, it's a decrease in concentration. You notice that you can't keep your attention on one task for more than a few minutes. Then, a feeling of mental fog appears, when thoughts seem to get bogged down in a thick environment. Next, forgetfulness develops, even regarding simple daily matters. Physical manifestations also make themselves known. Tension in the neck and shoulders, headaches, sleep disturbances. Many describe a strange state, simultaneously exhaustion and excitement, when the body is tired, but the mind continues to feverishly jump from one thought to another. Especially insidious is the fact that we seek salvation in the same place where the source of the problem lies. Feeling tired, we reach for our phone for another dose of stimulation, further depleting cognitive resources. It's a vicious circle from which it becomes increasingly difficult to escape. Our brain is an astonishing instrument, evolved over millions of years. But what happens to it under the influence of constant digital interruptions is causing serious concern among neurobiologists. Recent studies using functional magnetic resonance imaging show alarming changes in the brain structure of individuals subjected to chronic digital distractions. When we immerse ourselves in deep thought, the so-called default mode network of the brain is activated. A complex of interconnected areas responsible for creative thinking, introspection, and the formation of complex ideas. It is in this state that insights are born, crucial cognitive processes occur, and long-term memory is formed. Every notification literally ruptures these neural connections. At the sound or vibration of a phone, the brain immediately switches to the external attention network, interrupting deep thought processes. The problem is that returning to deep thinking takes time. Neural networks must reactivate and restore the interrupted connections. Scientists at Stanford University have found that people constantly distracted by digital devices show a decrease in gray matter in the prefrontal cortex, the area responsible for decision-making and critical thinking. In fact, the brain adapts to fragmented attention, losing the ability for sustained concentration. Even more alarming data has been obtained in longitudinal studies. Participants who were subjected to regular digital interruptions for 2 years demonstrated a 28% decrease in their ability for analytical thinking. They performed worse on tasks requiring the establishment of cause and effect relationships and systemic analysis. This is neuroplasticity in action. The brain literally rebuilds itself under the influence of the environment. A regularly interrupted stream of thoughts becomes the norm, and the brain loses the skill of sustained, focused attention. The decision to break free from digital shackles begins with acknowledging the problem. Digital detox is not just a trendy phrase, but a necessary practice of mental hygiene in the modern world. Just as we brush our teeth to prevent cavities, we need to regularly cleanse our minds of informational noise. Start small, with a one-day detox on a weekend. Prepare in advance. Notify loved ones of your temporary unavailability. Set up an autoresponder for your email, and put off important tasks. The first few hours without your phone can cause genuine withdrawal symptoms. Anxiety, an obsessive urge to check the device, a feeling that you're missing out on something. This is normal. Your brain is demanding its usual dopamine stimulation. 80% of people trying a digital detox for the first time report phantom vibrations. The sensation that their phone is ringing or vibrating, even though it's not nearby. Some experience irritability, anxiety, and even slight disorientation. By the evening of the first day, these symptoms usually subside, giving way to an astonishing sense of freedom and clarity of thought. For a more serious cleanse, try a 3-day detox. This will require thorough preparation. Create a list of urgent tasks before disconnecting. Ensure alternative emergency contact methods for your closest ones. And prepare offline entertainment, books, board games, hobby materials. By the second and third day of the detox, many report improved sleep, reduced anxiety, and a return to the ability for sustained concentration. You may rediscover the pleasure of simple things. The taste of food you eat without looking at a screen. The beauty of the surrounding world unfiltered through a smartphone camera. The depth of conversations without constant interruptions. Take your smartphone and open the settings. This is where the journey to digital freedom begins. Modern devices offer a multitude of tools to tame the chaos of notifications, but most of us never venture into these settings sections. It's time to change that. The first step is a notification audit. Go into your settings and review the list of all applications that have the right to disturb you. Ask yourself 3 questions about each. Do I really need these notifications? How urgently do I need to respond to them? Can I group them and review them at a specific time? Create a priority system. On iOS and Android, you can configure Do Not Disturb mode, with exceptions for selected contacts and applications. For example, let only calls from family and messages from close friends break through your digital shield. Everything else can wait. Time is your main ally. Set up a notification schedule. Most modern devices allow you to disable notifications for specific hours. Create quiet hours for deep work in the morning, family dinner in the evening, and healthy sleep at night. Apps for managing digital attention can become unexpected allies. Forest forces you to put down your phone by growing a virtual tree that dies if you use the device. Freedom blocks distracting websites and apps on a schedule. Rescue Time analyzes how you use your time and provides optimization recommendations. It's important to understand, not all notifications are created equal. A message from your boss or spouse might require immediate attention, while social media updates almost never do. Configure sound and visual alerts accordingly. For truly important contacts, you can set special ringtones or vibrations. Remember, technology is meant to serve us, not the other way around. By taking control of your notification system, you reclaim power over your own attention, the most valuable resource in the information age. Digital boundaries are not just a trendy term, but a necessity in a world where work and personal life increasingly merge. Start by creating physical zones free from technology. The bedroom should become a sanctuary for sleep. Research shows that the blue light from screens suppresses melatonin production, reducing the deep sleep phase by 25%. Establish a rule: no devices an hour before bed and an hour after waking up. Dining tables for family meals are another territory requiring protection. Introduce the practice of a phone basket. All devices are placed in a special container before dinner begins. The first few days will be uncomfortable. Many report phantom anxiety and an irresistible urge to check notifications. But within a week, you will notice how the quality of communication changes. At work, structure your interaction with the digital world. The time-blocking method is particularly effective. Allocate specific intervals for checking mail and messages. For example, at the beginning of the day, before lunch, and at the end of the workday. During other times, activate Do Not Disturb mode and focus on tasks requiring deep concentration. It is critically important to align digital boundaries with those around you. Have an open conversation with colleagues about your new communication rules. Explain that you will respond to messages at specific times, but not instantly. Surprisingly, most people respect such boundaries if they are clearly defined. With loved ones, agree on urgency signals. For example, a double call might signify a truly important situation requiring immediate attention. For everything else, there is a delayed response. Our brain craves dopamine, a neurotransmitter responsible for pleasure and motivation. Digital notifications exploit this need, but there are healthier ways to stimulate the production of this happiness hormone. Nature has created many natural sources of dopaminergic reward that not only do not harm our attention, but also improve the overall condition of the body. Physical activity is one of the most powerful natural stimulants of the dopaminergic system. Even a 30-minute run or an intense workout triggers a cascade of biochemical reactions, resulting in the release of not only dopamine, but also endorphins, natural painkillers. Unlike digital stimulation, this dopamine surge is accompanied by real physiological benefits, strengthening the cardiovascular system, improving cognitive functions, and boosting immunity. Real-world social interaction is another powerful source of dopamine. Direct eye contact, touch, and hugs activate the oxytocin system, which works in tandem with the dopaminergic system. A 2-hour conversation with a friend over coffee, without phones, provides a deeper and more lasting sense of satisfaction than hundreds of likes on social media. Creative activity is the third key source of healthy dopamine. When we create something new, draw, write, cook, build, the brain rewards us with a release of dopamine upon achieving even small results. At the same time, creativity requires sustained concentration, training precisely those neural pathways that are weakened by digital distractions. Practical steps to replace digital stimuli with healthy alternatives begin with conscious planning. Create a list of activities that bring you pleasure and keep it handy. When the urge to check notifications arises, refer to this list and choose an alternative. Replace your morning social media check with a 10-minute meditation or stretching. Instead of scrolling through news feeds during your lunch break, go for a short walk or call a friend. Gradually, your brain will begin to retrain itself, associating feelings of satisfaction with healthier sources of dopamine. Neuroplasticity works both ways. Just as the brain adapts to fragmented attention, it can return to more natural patterns of pleasure. The irony of the digital age. We create apps to get rid of app addiction. It's like drinking alcohol to cure a hangover. And yet, there's a certain logic to this paradox. Sometimes we need technological crutches to learn how to walk again without them. Modern app stores are filled with dozens of digital well-being solutions. Forest turns phone abstinence into a game. You plant a virtual tree that grows as long as you don't touch your device. Get distracted by a notification. The tree dies. A simple mechanic, but it taps into powerful psychological levers. We don't want to destroy what we've grown, even if it's just pixels on a screen. Space creates micropauses between you and your apps. Want to open Instagram? First, take a deep breath and think. Do you really need to? These few seconds of mindfulness are often enough to break the automatic chain of habit. Tracker apps like Rescue Time and Google's Digital Well-Being show the harsh truth about how much time we spend on each app. The numbers are often shocking. On average, we spend about 4 hours daily on our phones, with most of that time going to social media and entertainment. However, this approach has a fundamental problem. Studies show that users of digital well-being apps often abandon them after a few weeks of use. The reason is simple. The same addiction mechanisms we're trying to get rid of make these apps not engaging enough. They don't trigger the same dopamine response as an endless TikTok feed or Instagram notifications. Perhaps the real solution lies not in creating another layer of technology, but in re-evaluating our relationship with it. Technology is a tool, not a master, and sometimes the best way to use a tool is to put it aside. In a world where technological giants compete for every second of our attention, the question of corporate responsibility becomes increasingly relevant. After years of unrestrained pursuit of user engagement, the largest companies have begun to acknowledge the problem of digital addiction and take the first steps towards solving it. But how sincere are these attempts? Apple introduced screen time, Google developed digital well-being, and Facebook implemented time management tools. At first glance, this looks like progress. However, a critical analysis of these initiatives elicits a certain skepticism. Most of these features are hidden deep within settings, where the average user will never discover them. They operate on the principle of a soft warning, notifying users when a time limit is exceeded, but rarely truly restricting usage. Former Google developer Tristan Harris, who founded the Center for Humane Technology, calls this a digital alibi. Companies create an appearance of care, while simultaneously continuing to optimize their products for maximum attention retention. This is a fundamental conflict of interest. A business model based on monetizing attention is incompatible with genuine concern for users' digital well-being. Particularly telling is the story of Instagram, which implemented the "You're all caught up" feature to track in-app time, while simultaneously developing algorithms that make the feed even more captivating. Or YouTube, whose recommendation system is designed to keep the user engaged for as long as possible, despite its time control tools. Real corporate responsibility requires a rethinking of the very foundation of the technology business. As long as success is measured by time spent in the app and the number of ads viewed, any digital well-being initiatives will be merely cosmetic changes. Genuine transformation will only begin when companies find ways to prosper by helping users use. The future of digital attention isn't as bleak as it might seem. Experts in neuroscience and technological ethics see signs of an awakening collective awareness of the problem. As Professor Adam Alter, author of a study on digital addiction, notes, "We are at a turning point, similar to what happened with the tobacco industry in the 70s. Society is beginning to understand the true cost of constant connectivity. Future technological solutions will likely evolve towards what is known as conscious design. This is an approach where applications and devices are designed with users' psychological well-being in mind. not just the maximization of engagement time. Startups are already emerging whose business model is based on the principle of less but better. They offer services that help users reduce their online time while retaining all the benefits of digital technologies. At a societal level, we are seeing the birth of a digital rights movement, including the right to disconnect. France was the first country to legally enshrine the right of employees not to respond to work messages outside of working hours. Similar initiatives are being considered in Germany, Spain, and Scandinavian countries. This is a recognition that constant availability comes at a real human cost. Educational systems are also adapting, incorporating digital literacy courses into their curricula, where students learn not only to use technology, but also to control its impact on their lives. From an early age, children are mastering the principles of healthy digital balance, a skill that will become critically important in the world of the future. Ultimately, our salvation lies not in abandoning technology, but in regaining control over it. As neuroscientist Daniel Levitin says, the human brain is the most complex object in the universe. It has evolved over millions of years and has an amazing ability to adapt. We will learn to live with technology on our terms. Perhaps the main lesson of this digital age is a reminder that what is truly human cannot be digitized. Our capacity for deep thought, empathy, creativity, and genuine connections. This is what makes us human. And preserving these qualities in a world of endless notifications is not just a personal task, but a collective responsibility to future generations.